Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment we bring to you objective questions on a daily basis to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the practice question of the last segment. The Sankalp Smarak recently seen in the news is associated with which of the following personalities? Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, V.D. Savarkar, Aurobindo Ghosh or Mahatma Gandhi? The correct answer is option A, that is Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. In order to preserve this important event in the history, a Sankalp Smarak was dedicated to the nation by Lieutenant General Ajay Singh, Commander-in-Chief of Andaman and Nicobar Command, exactly 78 years after Netaji's arrival on 29th of December 2021. The Smarak is a tribute not only to the resolve of the soldiers of the Indian National Army, but also reminds us of the values enshrined by Netaji himself: Nishtha, Kartavya or Balidan, or commitment, duty and sacrifice, that continues to underscore the ethos of the Indian Armed Forces. Moving on, with reference to the Indian pangolin, consider the following statements. It is found throughout India. It is a critically endangered species under the IUCN Red List. So we have to select the correct statement or statements. Both are actually incorrect. So the correct answer would be option D. Let's know why. The Odisha Forest and Environment Department has completed its first ever radio tagging of the Indian pangolin in an attempt to standardize the rehabilitation protocol for the animal in the state. Out of 8 species of pangolin, the Indian pangolin, that is Manis crassiquordatia, and Chinese pangolin, Manis pentadictyla, are found in India. An Indian pangolin is a large anteater covered by 11 to 13 rows of scales on the back. A terminal scale is also present on the lower side of the tail of the Indian pangolin, which is absent in the Chinese pangolin. Indian pangolin is widely distributed in India except the arid regions, high Himalayas and the northeast. It is an endangered species under the IUCN Red List. Moving on to the next question. With reference to preferential trade agreement, consider the following statements. In a PTA, the partners can reduce the tariff on entry of certain product to a certain limit, but not to completely zero. India has signed a PTA with Afghanistan. So we have to select the correct statement or statements. Both the statements from here, second is correct, first is not. Because the tariff on certain products can also be reduced to completely zero. Correct answer is option B, that is 2 only. The center has suspended till 31st of January 2022 a mandatory obligation imposed on exporters to obtain online certificate of origin for every outbound consignment. The online COO system put in place in late 2019 for exports to countries with whom India has a preferential trade agreement was expanded to cover all merchandise exports from November 2021. PTAs, or Generalized System of Preferences, is a special status given in trade by various countries, and in this type of agreement, 2 or more partners give preferential right of entry to certain products by reducing duties on an agreed number of tariff lines. Tariffs may even be reduced to zero for some products. Even in a PTA, India signed a PTA with Afghanistan. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statements. Inactivated vaccines used a weakened or attenuated form of germ that causes a disease. They are used to protect diseases from diseases such as hepatitis A, flu, polio and rabies. So we have to select the correct statement or statements. First is incorrect because inactivated vaccines use a killed form of germ, not inactivated, not actually weakened. So the first is incorrect. Second is correct. The correct answer is option B. Inactivated vaccines are using the killed version of a germ that causes a disease, and this type of vaccines are created by inactivating a pathogen, typically using heat or chemicals such as formaldehyde or formalin. This destroys the pathogen's ability to replicate but keeps itself intact so that the immune system can still recognize it. Inactivated is generally used rather than killed to refer to viral vaccines of this type, as viruses are generally not considered to be alive. They usually don't provide immunity that's as strong as live vaccines. So one may need several doses over time in order to get ongoing immunity against the disease. They are used to protect hepatitis A, flu, polio, and rabies. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statements. It was built in the 13th century by King Narasimhadev I. It is the UNESCO World Heritage Site and it is also referred to as Black Pagoda. So we have to see that the above statements most appropriately are related to which of the following temples in India. The correct answer to this question is option A, Konark Sun Temple. Recently, the Archaeological Survey of India has revealed it is working on a preliminary roadmap to safely remove sand from the interiors of Konark Sun Temple. It is located in the East Odisha near the sacred city of Puri, built in the 13th century by King Narasimhadev I, and is dedicated to the sun god. It marks the highest point of achievement of Kalinga architecture, and it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984. The temple is designed in the shape of a colossal chariot. There are 2 rows of 12 wheels on each side of the Konark Sun Temple. Some say the wheel represents the 24 hours in a day, and others say the 12 months. The 7 horses are said to symbolize the 7 days of a week, and sailors once called the Sun Temple of Konark the Black Pagoda because it was supposed to draw ships into the shore and cause shipwrecks. Moving on, with reference to the AUKUS deal, consider the following statements. It is a defense alliance of Australia, the UK and US. It is established to confront strategic tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. Under this, Australia would obtain nuclear-powered submarines. So we have to select the correct statements. Actually, all are correct. The correct answer is option D. In September 2021, the US announced a new trilateral security partnership for the Indo-Pacific between Australia, UK and US. It is the first agreement on the technology to be publicly signed since the 3 countries announced the formation of a defense alliance, AUKUS, to confront the strategic tensions in Pacific where China-US rivalry is growing. Under the AUKUS deal, Australia would obtain 8 state-of-the-art nuclear-powered but conventionally armed submarines capable of stealthy, long-range missiles. It will involve a new architecture of meetings and engagements between the 3 countries as well as cooperation across emerging technologies. Moving on, with respect to Gst Council, consider the following statements. It is a constitutional body. The finance minister is the ex officio secretary to the Gst Council. We have to select the correct statement. So, first is correct that it is a constitutional body under Article 279A. But second is incorrect because the finance minister is the chairperson and the Ministry of State of Revenue is the ex officio secretary. So, first is correct, second is incorrect, option A is correct. The Gst Council will meet today, and one of the agenda of the meeting is to discuss the report of the panel of state ministers on rate rationalization. As per Article 279A Clause 1 of the amended Constitution, the Gst Council has to be constituted by the President within 60 days of the commencement of Article 279A. The notification for bringing it into force, Article 279A, with effect from 12th September 2016 was issued on 10th September 2016. As per Article 279A of the amended Constitution, the Gst Council, which will be a joint forum of the centre and states, shall consist of the following members. Union Finance Minister to be the chairperson. The Union Minister of State in charge of Revenue or Finance is a member and ex officio secretary. The Minister in charge of the Finance or Taxation of any other ministry nominated by each state government to be the members. Consider the following statements with respect to the Sahitya Akademi Awards. The Sahitya Akademi was formally inaugurated by the Government of India on 12th March 1964. Besides the 22 languages enumerated in the Constitution of India, the Sahitya Akademi has recognized English and Rajasthani as languages in which its program may be implemented. So, we have to select the correct statement. The first statement is incorrect because it should be 12th March 1954 and not 64. Second is definitely correct. The correct answer is option B, that is 2 only. Sahitya Akademi has announced its annual Sahitya Akademi Award in 20 languages today. The Sahitya Akademi was formally inaugurated by the Government of India on 12th March 1954. It was registered as a society on January 7, 1956 under the Societies Registration Act of 1860. Akademi gives 24 awards annually to literary works in the languages it has recognized and an equal number of awards to literary translations from and into the languages of India. It also gives special awards called Bhasha Samman for significant contributions to the languages not formally recognized by the Academy, as also for contributions to classical and medieval literatures. And besides the 22 languages enumerated in the Constitution of India, the Sahitya Akademi has recognized English and Rajasthani as languages in which its program may be implemented. Moving on. With respect to Jal Jeevan Mission, consider the following statements. It is to provide safe and adequate drinking water through individual household tap connections by 2022. The Jal Jeevan Mission will be based on a state approach to water. So we have to select the correct statement or statements. First statement is incorrect because instead of 2022, it should be 2024. And it's a community approach to water. So first and second both are incorrect. The correct answer is option D. The government has released a second tranche of 350 crore 95,000 rupees with an undivided focus to expedite the implementation of the Jal Jeevan Mission in Uttarakhand, which is envisioned to provide safe and adequate drinking water through individual household tap connection by 2024 to all households in rural India. Moving on, the program will also implement source sustainability measures as mandatory elements such as recharge and reuse through grey water management and water conservation, rainwater harvesting. The mission will be based on a community approach to water and will include extensive information, education and communication as a key component of the mission. Moving on. The Jal Jeevan Mission will be based on a community approach to water and will include extensive information, education and communication as a key component of the mission. It looks to create a Jan Andolan for water, thereby making it everyone's priority. Moving on. With respect to the National Tiger Conservation Authority, consider the following statements. It has been constituted under Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. It is a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So we have to select the correct statement or statements. Both are correct. The correct answer is option C. The Union Environment, Forest and Climate Change Ministry on Thursday rejected as lopsided media reports that said the highest tiger deaths were recorded in the country in 2021. NTCA is a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Also, it was established in 2005 following the recommendation of the Tiger Task Force. It was constituted under enabling provision of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 as amended in 2006 for strengthening tiger conservation as per powers and functions assigned to it. Moving on. Zoljanah, a satellite recently seen in the news, belongs to which of the following countries? Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Brazil. The correct answer is option A, that is Iran. In February, Iran announced a successful test of the most powerful solid fuel satellite launcher to date, the Zoljanah, boasting that it can put a 220-kilogram payload into the orbit. The US voiced concerns about the launch, saying the test could boost Iran's ballistic missile technology at a moment when the two nations are inching back to diplomacy. Iran successfully put its first military satellite into orbit in April 2020, drawing a sharp rebuke from Washington. Moving on to the practice question for our next segment. Consider the following statements. Flex fuel vehicles have engines that can run on flexible fuels, even 100% ethanols. Flex fuel strong hybrid electric vehicles can run solely on electricity. So we have to select the correct statement. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.